what is a superhero?
I think a superhero is someone that goes through their own tough times, and instead of going ahead and using that to be angry at the world, they internalize that and use that to fuel them to be able to help the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode number 2 of Don't Buy My Course. And today I have a very dear friend of mine who has changed thousands of lives through a program called Smiles for Kids. And Josh, it's insane. First of all, I'm so in awe and I'm so shocked by what you do, because to have your own life, to mix it with your career, to have philanthropic actions just like you do right now, it's insane. So I wanna dive into it. Josh Aryeh, ladies and gentlemen, how did it start?
It started off originally from a place of jealousy and envy, because when I was much younger, I grew up in New York in a very affluent environment, and my family wasn't like that. So I went to private school. We never went on family vacations. I didn't have the designer clothing. I didn't have the nice watches. I didn't have the nice cars. And the children that did kind of picked on me. They bullied me till 10th or 11th grade for not having the things that they had. So my original goal was not to be Batman. I wanted to be Bruce Wayne. I wanted to be that multi-billionaire, kind of have everything they had and so much more, right? Out of spite, out of envy, out of jealousy, out of to be like, you had that, I want that. I'm gonna have everything all you had combined and more than that. And that's what I wanted, and that's what I was working towards. And then sometimes your plan is not the plan that's intended for you. And always been a car guy, right? Ferrari, Lambo, Pagani, Bugatti, whatever, you name it. Ever since I was a little kid, I knew the make, the model, anything about it. I could see it. I could see the tail light. I knew what it was. That was just, it was within me. And that's
We obviously met through a car community.
We did.
We've known each other for years. Okay.
And that was my passion, and couldn't afford them. And I realized that, I knew of people that did have them. And I was 17, 18, and, I would borrow the cars initially just because I was a big car enthusiast. I said, look, I can't afford it. I know of people that do. I'm at a point in my life where I had a lot of extra time, not a lot of extra money. And I was like, before Uber and all these things were in existence, I said, I'll do your errands. I'll do your Uber Eats. I'll do whatever it is. Let me drive your Ferrari. Let me drive your Lambo, Bentley. And it started off with that. And then eventually I was like, hey, you know what? Taking home for the night, the weekend, whatever, that kind of thing. Because I built up that trust. And I had an idea. I was like, look, I can't afford to donate a lot of money to charity, but I could afford to donate my time. Because I had access to all these cars. There had to be children out there who were going through crazy struggles. Battling cancer, terminal illnesses. You name it, all these things, right? It goes on and on and on. And I started calling up Charities saying, hey, my name is Josh Aryeh. I don't own the cars, but I have access to tons of exotic cars. If you have a child that wants to go in it, let me know. And one day I got a call back that there was an 8-year-old girl who lived in Queens, near New York, where I was from. And the child's dream or wish was to go into a Lamborghini. I was like, perfect. I knew of someone that had it. I was able to borrow it. And this was one of those defining moments that changed the rest of my life. And the family knew I was coming. The child had no idea. And then bring out this little girl. She's all sad, looking down in this wheelchair. And she looks up, and there's this bright yellow convertible Lamborghini in front of her house. And you see this child's entire face lights up with one of the biggest smiles I've ever seen. And get her in the car, put the top down, drive around for 15, 20 minutes. She's having the best time of her life. And after I get her back in the wheelchair, they bring her into the house. And as soon as she gets in the house, the mom is hysterically crying, nonstop bawling. Tears are just coming. And I've always been involved with volunteering, but typically when you're doing something, it's in a group setting. It's not a one-on-one interaction. So I was like, look, maybe I said something or did something that was insensitive, you don't even realize. So I look at the mom, look, if I said something or did something, I didn't mean it, without even realizing. She's like, no. She's like, you don't get it. She's like, my daughter was diagnosed with cancer at the age of 4. She's had over 20 surgeries. She got an infection, which caused her to become partially paralyzed, which is why she's in the wheelchair. She's like, this is the first time I've seen my daughter smile like that in 4 years since she was diagnosed with cancer. And I was kind of like, holy, I'm a big car guy.
That moment, that was the epiphany. It was the answer to why you do this.
And I was like, look, I'm still a big car enthusiast. I love cars. Almost passed out on Sunday trying to see them in the design district with you.
Yeah, that was a shit
First
show.
from the traffic, and then from the actual show. It was quite hot for those of you that weren't there.
25,000 people, guys. It was the
All
biggest,
cramped
the
together.
biggest car event Miami's probably ever had.
I finally know what it feels like to be a sardine in those little cans. But anyhow, it was an experience, and that was, I was like, holy shit, if I could have this impact was just a stupid thing. At the end of the day, I'm a big car guy, but it's just a car. And I was like, look, I don't know how, but this is kind of what I want to do. My plans and goals and all that kind of shifted from wanting to be a billionaire and kind of saying F you in a way to the kids that were mean to me, to saying I want to be able to accumulate these items in order to be able to use them for a greater purpose. And it switched to a much healthier place in mentally, physically, emotionally, where it's kind of like, I want this to make the world a better place. And started from there, and then similar to others, like I said, superhero situation, I've had struggles in my own life. Besides, like, I had one younger sister who, my only younger sibling, only girl in my family, suddenly became sick and ended up passing away in about a week. And I knew what it was like to be in a hospital, like hoping, begging, praying for a loved one to get better. And
sorry.
for us, we didn't get that.
I know the story. It's ridiculous. It's crazy.
So as a sibling, it's tough. And then for my parents, my dad never recovered from that. My dad just passed away 18 years after my sister.
Parents should never bury their kids.
Yeah,
so that's the hardest part.
Horrible. So I know firsthand what that was really like for as a sibling on a personal level, and then also additionally as being a son, seeing what it did to my father, my mother, my siblings, like all that. And so I knew the heartache and the hardships that I had as a result of that. And I was kind of like, look, I could either just kind of be angry at the world and everything for the hardships that I've had, or I could kind of say, you know what, I want to try my best to hopefully utilize the assets that I have, right? When I say assets, I don't mean just financially. I mean my network and all these things, like the car community. There are days we can bring out 100+ cars. I mean, right now we have 130 cars in Miami.
Starting Friday, starting tomorrow, actually.
Yeah. So, I'm saying, like, so think
Rally for Race. It's another car event that's happening right now.
Exactly. Wayne and all this, so it's going to be amazing.
Shout out Wayne.
So we have a lot of people there, and so that's why I use those assets to really try to make a difference, and those passions and all that we have, to be able to bring that out and enable a child, a family, to be able to have a glimpse of normalcy. Because a lot of these people don't realize that when they go through, when they're battling cancer, when they're battling whatever illness, when they're bullied, when they're contemplating suicide, when domestic violence abuse victims, homelessness, it goes on and on and on. We deal with so many different types of
It's not
people.
necessarily terminally ill kids, it's also underprivileged kids, it's also kids with psychological trauma.
Psychological autism. We kind of expanded from the initial seed, was just kids with cancer, and then just as our awareness grew on Instagram and other platforms, we kind of broadened our spectrum of who we wanted to help. I've literally been there for people that were turning 100 years old, and they wanted to drive by to honor people who fought in World War II and other stuff like that. Others were adults who were in their 40s, 50s, 60s battling cancer, and they also had a wish to go in a car.
It's insane how, again, I keep saying this over and over again, the car community is a very special place. Some people are very fortunate to be born into this community, to have the money. Some are not as fortunate, but make their way there. I know your story also involved, you didn't come from money. You were bullied. I faced something very similar in England. I was also out of place because I was from Ukraine. Nobody knew. I was in a boarding school in England. They were like, who the fuck is this guy? He's from Ukraine. He's from Soviet. I was the Russian space station. I was the cosmonaut, the communist, and everything. So I know the dark sides of humanity. But it's always you want to give. So the people that want to give more are the people that change this world. It's not just receiving and receiving. And a lot of people will, without knowing your story, will look at it and say, well, this guy's got a GTR, a Aventador, Urus, whatever. I'm sure he's just, coming from huge money, generational wealth. That's not the case. And that's what really, really matters. If you want to receive, give back. And regardless, find the time to do something good. And this is not a call to action, because a call to action should be every day for somebody who wants to change the world. And this is one of the reasons this podcast exists, is because I want to show that, there's a lot between the fakeness and the shadiness and the screwed up society that we live in, there's really the light. So what was your first car?
The first high-end car was actually the Nissan GTR, the Batmobile.
Yes.
I was not intended to purchase this car. I was not looking for a car at the time. I had a buddy of mine who was considering buying the Corvette C7 or the GTR at the time. And he's like, look, you're better at negotiating. You understand more about the cars. Can you help me out? And I negotiated a deal on the car. He lived near me in New York. I got the car for like $84,000, brand new, comes with 123 miles on the car.
This was when?
2014. They do testing on the car, so every car comes with 123 miles. It says that, all these things, and it was with delivery on a flatbed. Everything all in was 84,000 brand new. I negotiated the deal for him, and at the last second, he's like, you know what, I really want to get the Corvette, and he backed out and got the Corvette. And I wasn't really looking for it. Until then, I was borrowing, I was renting, I was doing all these things, and I was like, you know what, the amount that we were spending on renting cars was like, I could buy this car for 84 grand, and the resale value was probably going to be in the 50, 60 range. I was like, I'll keep the car for minimum 5 years. Ended up being 11 now, but let's say 5 years at that point. If I was like, I'll flip it in 5 years, lose $30,000, so it'll be like 6 grand a year. So it cost me $500 a month to have the car. I was like, great, like, well, you know, whatever it is, something like that. I'm like, big deal. Like, what car am I getting? I'm gonna get, like, at that time, like a 3 Series BMW would have been like more or less that range.
Little did you know this car is probably worth 10,000 less than what you paid for it 10 years ago. I mean, the depreciation on the GTRs is nothing. I mean, the car is just incredible. It's timeless.
It's such a great, honestly, it's the best car I've ever had. And this is not a paid promotion. This is just, the car's been amazing, really performed well. And the kids love it. Like, it became the icon of where it all began, the Batmobile and all that. And it really has served its purpose. If I knew back then, regardless of the depreciation, appreciation, if I knew what we would have been able to become because of that for the children, I mean, visited tens of thousands of kids with that. So that ROI on that, I mean,
it's insane. It's insane. A lot of people don't know your background as far as, you know, where you came from and what career, what industry generated the income for you in order to be even able to afford a GTR.
Sure. So I was involved with a lot of different businesses and things because my goal was to be that billionaire. So I am not that billionaire, never reached that level, probably never will, and that's fine. That's not my goal anymore. If it happens, not against it, but that's not my goal. So I was involved working with one of my brothers who owned a bunch of physical therapy offices. I was in charge of his marketing and management for the offices. I was involved with the lice checking company. I was involved with the chocolate factory, involved with syndicating deals in real estate.
Hustle.
Yeah, I was just involved with a lot of different things. And, you know, I know they say the jack of all trades, master of none, you know, that kind of thing. But nowadays, it's not 100% true. Like, I don't need to be the master in this industry. I just need to be an honest, good, reliable person that if I do business with you today, we do right by you. In 2 years, if I have another deal, you're going to be willing to do business with me again, and maybe you'll bring in your friend. So it was always repeat business, doing right by the person. Whatever industry I was in, I always left with a positive reputation with the person.
I think it's that's crazy. I think that's the reason why we get along so well, because that's exactly what I do in the car world. And first things first is do what you love.
Yes.
Second thing is I've heard somebody smart say that if you want to be a billionaire, you know, help a billion people. So sometimes a billion in the bank is much less than helping that billion people. And so far, how many, I mean, I know it's a crazy number, but you've helped thousands of kids. And especially, I want to dive into something where you guys now have global outreach. You have a jet that's decked out as an ambulance. What? Let's talk about you. Dude, you're living Bruce Wayne life by... I'll just shut up and be quiet.
Yeah, so basically, for those of you that haven't seen, it's a medical jet. We actually have 5 jets stationed in different parts of the world. G6s and G550s. G6s are more short term, so New York to Florida, stuff like that. The G550s could go up to, I think, about 14 hours without needing to refuel. The pilots get paid, the doctors, we have doctors, nurses, medics, all that on board. They're all completely volunteer. So, I mean, there were cases, we had someone in Florida who I think he was an ICU doctor who was here, and literally he was finishing his shift, called his wife, hey, I'm going to be done soon, just finishing paperwork, whatever it was. An emergency call came in for someone overseas, I think it was in Panama, that needed immediate evacuation, and literally just went from hospital directly onto the jet. Him and some other medics and other people flew to Panama, went there, picked up the patient, flew back into Florida and was here, and then next day went back into his shift. Like, it was just never went home. And so, I'm really not that hero. I am the face of a lot of different things. This was actually one of my good friends, Ellie Rowe, who I volunteered with back in New York in a volunteer ambulance. And then at some point, it went from volunteer ambulances to volunteer aviation, which is where the jets came in, and they have helicopters and everything. And it's worldwide transport. Like, I know you're from Ukraine, and during that time with the war of Ukraine and Russia, they were on the ground evacuating hundreds of people for free, just to get them out of their hospitals into Europe and other surrounding areas so that they could continue. So as the bombs were falling and as everything was happening, the jets were going in, picking up patients and going out. So like on the G550, every 2 seats on there, and I think it's about like a 16-seater, not including the cockpit.
Right.
Every 2 seats can become a stretcher.
Wow.
So you could fit about 8 patients on stretchers in there at one time.
Wow.
And it's a mobile hospital. So it's everything you would need. And we actually have 2 pieces of each equipment, because if, let's say you have someone hooked up to the EKG and there's an issue with it and you're 35,000 feet in the air, where are you getting a second? So we have a backup of every piece of equipment on that jet.
And how does it work as far as a foundation? I mean, you got to pay for the jet, you got to pay for the fuel and stuff like that. How does that even work?
There's a lot of amazing people out there who are much closer to being Bruce Wayne than I am. And, thank God some of them have big hearts, big pockets and stuff like that, and see the need for it and understand that this is a volunteer organization, and it's way to really, it's someone that needs it, right? Like, there was someone in, I think it was in Spain, that 2-3 weeks ago, they went to Spain, Sri Lanka, and other areas. One of them was a 28-year-old who was there while they were on vacation, developed pneumonia, and took over both lungs, went into septic shock, were in ICU, critical condition, needed to be evacuated. Someone else got into a horrible accident, ruptured their spleen, I think broken ribs, and a bunch of other crazy stuff. Someone was there, head-on collision, 2 parents with their infant, both parents died on impact, baby was in critical condition. Had to fly in the family members to identify and be with the 2 deceased bodies, and then fly in an adult to fly in with the baby, who is now coming into the U.S. for critical care. Like, it's situations where it's like life-threatening. This is like do or die.
How do people get in touch? When something like this happens and you're somewhere in the world, how do you guys get notified about something like this?
So it's usually they'll go to what I call like the emergency line. They'll find it and they'll call in or get a referral from the hospital or someone saying, hey, we tried to reach out to other companies and other organizations to get the evacuation, not able to do it, whatever it is. And there's a whole team behind that goes ahead and evaluates different transports and things like that and figures all that out. There's a lot that goes on literally 24/7, because calls could come in at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, 8 in the morning, 2 at night, whatever, 2 in the afternoon. It's just
this is legit. I mean, it's as crazy as it sounds, but it is a Gotham hotline in a sense. You got your logo up and people. I mean, wow, I'm shocked. It's insane. How do people get in touch? I'll put all the links of all the foundations and everything where people can volunteer if you want to volunteer and help. I definitely want to volunteer and help. That's 1,000%. That's my goal for the year, of course. But at the same time, I want to have those links in the episode below where people can get in touch. So how do you manage everything, the career, your personal life, the philanthropic mission that you have? How does one balance everything?
Right. So, to me, the word balance is very interesting, right? Because
how do you define balance? For me, it's
I enjoy doing the visits. I enjoy making money. I enjoy being with family. I enjoy being friends. I enjoy going to the gym. There's a lot, right? So there's so many hours in a day, and it's about just figuring out what I need to accomplish and making sure it's done. So, if I have a visit going, I'll do that visit, but I'll still allocate time to go ahead and try to make some money. I'll allocate time to go to the gym. I'll allocate time to spend time with friends. Like, I'll get done whatever I need to get done. Like, last night I was out, got back at 11 p.m., went to the gym, worked out from 11 till 12:30 in the morning, listened to a podcast, went to sleep, and woke up a couple hours later. Now, certain days I need more sleep, so that can't be done, but others, like, I try to just do whatever I can, because we're human, right? I'm not Superman. I'm at best maybe Batman, quasi-Batman. Not Bruce Wayne, but, so I try to do that. So I think it's really just, that balance doesn't need to be a 50-50, right? It's like when you have children, right? You have one child, all your time and energy is to that child. When you have two, when you have three, when you have four, all right, now you got your wife, now you got your job, how do you balance that? It's you just figure it out. One doesn't necessarily subtract or detract from the other. It's, I'm going to figure out, I got a game with this kid, I got a school play with that kid, I got detention with that kid, I got, but you figure out how to make it work.
Right.
And there's some days where you can't do
Every single thing. That's why I go to the gym 5 days a week. Right, so 2 days I don't go. If I can, I get 7, but my minimum is 5.
You have to maintain that healthy lifestyle, because that's where the energy comes from in the beginning.
And like you said,
like, do what you love, right? I'm doing what I love. Like,
if I was Bruce Wayne, what would I want to do for the rest of my life?
I would just want to be this. I would just want to volunteer and be there forever without
Needing to worry about donations, without worrying about sponsors, I would just want to do that and make a difference. Like, that's what makes me the happiest, more than anything I've ever done,
is knowing the families that I've touched,
the families that I've been involved with,
the children and families I've helped for more than
15 years. Like, some of them I've been with for almost 20 years, which is like a lifetime.
I mean, I'm not even 40 yet, more than half my life.
That's crazy. And here's the crazy part as well. How many people are in Smiles Through Cars Foundation?
Insert like volunteers?
No, as far as how big is your
like
office?
how many we've 0. No one gets paid. There's no we have an address, but the address is in my friend's office, so we don't pay rent. It's a storefront, and
He's paying rent for his business.
and we just have an address there. We don't have staff. No one gets paid. No one gets anything. It's, you want to come once a year, you want to come 100 times a year. Like, I was the founder of the organization. We're all equal. We're just a team to make a difference.
Wow, that's insane. A lot of people use the community and the connections to excel in their own personal careers, and what you're doing is you're using that network, that chain, to bring volunteers in, to have these cars participate in the events, to have the outreach to the children. It's nuts. Let's talk about some examples of the families that really touched you the most.
Yeah, sure.
The
So I would
ones-
say, there's one, Yesenia,
Who comes to as a Catwoman. She joined the organization.
and she joined because I met her daughter, Bella, Fifi, Chris Bell,
Belle, who's in the hospital.
battling cancer.
She had tumors in her eye.
And the mom is
Is in the healthcare field, and they took a photo, and in the photo she noticed like a glare in that eye, and something seemed off, and she took her to the doctor, and the doctor found the tumors, and she went through therapy and chemo and all that. She
lost the eyesight, so she's blind in that eye from the tumors and everything she went through, but she beat cancer.
she's about 8 years old now, so I met them about 6 years ago, and she said she was at one of the weakest moments in her life because her youngest child, she has 3 children, the youngest child is battling cancer, financially going through a tough time because when your child's battling cancer, A, you have an insane amount of expenses, B, you can't work a normal job because you're constantly back and forth to the hospital, plus
All of the side effects of the chemo and all this stuff they do to you.
so she was at a very low point, and I went in, heard about it, just went to go do a visit, treated them like our best friend. And when I say me, I mean the team. I'm just one person, but there's a team of superheroes, of princesses, of volunteers, and all that. Went in, and she said that we made such a difference to her and gave her hope. And thank God the child ended up beating cancer. And she was so moved by what we did that she wanted to join in as part of the organization and comes as Catwoman. And she's been a big part of the team, a backbone of bringing in other families, helping facilitate stuff for the families, and being there for a lot of others. And, so we gave back to her, and now she's helping us give back to so many others.
It's incredible. That's incredible. Unfortunately, I'm sure you've had cases where, fortunately kids beat cancer. Unfortunately, kids have passed away, and I've seen in your stories that I believe it's about, even if the child does not make it, just that little tiny smile, that little thank you, that visit is already a huge step towards, I guess goodness.
Yeah, so there are unfortunately a lot of children that we do visit that ultimately pass away. And there are times that, unfortunately we expect it where we're told the child will pass away within X period of time, and we're there to try to fulfill that final wish or wishes. And it's tough. Like, it's really tough because we become kind of like family with the children and their families. Like, it's not a one and done. It's we'll visit 100 times, 1,000 times. Like, we're there constantly, and you really develop that relationship with them. And like you said, like, to be there for that final wish, for that final smile. I don't actually have superpowers. If I did, I would cure the illness, but I can't. But what we can do is enable the child, the family member, to forget about that illness
And to give them that little glimpse of hope, that little glimpse of normalcy when they're feeling horrible from everything they're going through, and you pull up as
Batman, as Spider-Man, as Superman, as a princess, as whatever, a Lamborghini, a Ferrari, a Bentley, and
all of a sudden the kid just goes from being this patient to being a child. And to see the child acting like, just for a little period of time, whether it's a minute, whether it's an hour, whatever that is, to give them that last little bit of happiness, to me, it's worth all the time and effort. And that's when you talk about balance and all, it's like, it adds a lot to the schedule and to my daily routine. But at the same time, to know that we're there to be able to help the families, it's really priceless, for lack of better words. Like, to really be there and know. I mean, it's hard. Like, it's really tough to
see the children struggling like that, and knowing that they're going through such a tough time, and for the parents and the siblings and what they go through after seeing what my family went through. Like, so I can only imagine what that's like. And just being able to be there to help them, like, it's just worth everything. It's like, look, I wish I had the powers to cure it, and I can't. But we can enable the child, that family member, as a team, to forget about that temporarily. And that little glimpse, I know when I'm lying in bed with the flu or whatever I have, and I'm sick for a week or 2 weeks or something, like, I know that 99% of the time I'm going to feel better at some point, right? As bad as it is today, I have tomorrow. Even when they beat cancer and they're in remission, there's always that fear of the cancer will come back. And so that's why what we do, and other organizations do, I think it's so important to be able to be that glimpse of hope. And that's why I start off saying that superhero is someone that has their struggles, their things that they've gone through, and instead of being angry at the world, they decide, you know what, I don't want to see the world as being dark. I want to be able to create that light. I want to be the light during the times of darkness for the other people.
That's incredible, because to a lot of kids, their parents are the superheroes. You don't have your own children, right? And you're doing this for other kids. It's like you are their superhero. And look, I can speak from my perspective. I have two daughters, and I do everything for them. And I think I'm very privileged to have healthy and beautiful girls. And that is, again, one of the reasons why I want to give back, because it's, as I see, and I hope one day, I wish you all, you have your own family, but you've helped so many kids in that sense. It's unreal. It's unreal, my friend. Tell us about the exotic cars in your fleet, in your collection. Which one's your favorite?
Yeah,
Stock cars.
Definitely, I think in terms of practicality and everything, the GTR has always been my favorite. I've had an Aventador, S Roadster, was an amazing car, great showpiece. Not the best for New York, but great car.
Blue Cephas, the baby blue, right?
Yes. The Rolls-Royce Wraith was an amazing car for the kids. We have like a Mercedes Metris, which is a smaller version of the Sprinter.
Yes.
It was converted. The inside is kind of like a Maybach, so it has like two reclining chairs. Oh, there's a GTR, two reclining chairs, and a lot of stuff there. We use that to take children to and from Sloan Kettering and some of the other hospitals. So when they need to go for treatment, we could transport them to or from for free, so the parents could be in the back with the child. We'll have a driver and take them, and they have their own privacy. There's like a partition between the two, and the partition's actually like a TV, so they could be playing video games or movies or stuff on there while they're going to and from.
To treatments and stuff, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. Right. For long distance drives as well.
Exactly.
If you had to add, let's say, unlimited funds, and you had to switch things around a little, what would be the cars that you would add?
If I was Bruce Wayne and I
Yes.
had those unlimited funds,
Go for
I mean, my first probably is Pagani Huayra. I'm a big, big Pagani fan. I think it is a work of art. They're all so beautiful. And if obviously if you put down the deposit, you spec it out, you wait those couple years, you could literally build your own car, right? I'm talking about everything.
So we're talking about a utopia at this point.
Yeah,
Utopia.
exactly. As the Pagani expert, you'll.
Would you do matte black, matte gray? Would you try to replicate kind of like a Bruce Wayne?
I think I would
Spec?
do something kind of different, something louder, cool, because I could use something else as like the Batmobile. I think the Pagani is so unique with the colors of the carbon fibers and all that you could do. Like I happen to love the blue, and I don't know the actual names, but blue and certain colors like I think look really amazing. Like some of them I've seen there, like Ariane's.
Like our friend's car, Ariane's.
Yes, Ariane's
beautiful.
cars.
Yes.
Both of her Paganis are so beautiful with the white and the blue up the middle. And
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
such a beautiful spec. And then her other, which is just blue, and it's amazing. Like it's
Shout
really a
out
work of
Ariane.
art.
I would love to have you on the episode as well one day.
So
That blue carbon is unbelievable.
Yeah. So
I think also, there's a Joker spec as well.
yeah.
There was a Joker spec that unfortunately went through an accident and got rebuilt into an amazing piece. Yeah.
Was
so
that in
you
Europe? I think.
No, that was here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was in US. There is also it's kind of cool to have a Batmobile and the Villainmobile as well.
Right,
Because
right.
you could pull up in different. That would be amazing. Actually, I'm just thinking right now what I would be doing
Right,
when I'm
something like
helping
that.
you and
Yeah, yeah,
when I can afford something like that.
God willing.
Okay, awesome.
So I would love that. I happen to love Bugattis.
Anything else? Right, Bugatti.
Yeah, I happen to love
Ooh,
Bugatti.
A
obviously.
Veyron. A Veyron would be great. A Chiron, of course.
Maybe on Chiron. So like Max Logan's got that, his color that's a beautiful like blue with the wing, and I think they're great cars.
Yes.
That'd
they
be
are.
my
They're very
dream.
functional.
is
They're
to-
very functional. Paganis are a work of art, and I think seeing a Pagani brings so many emotions unlike any other car. A Bugatti is a total GT, a real definition of a GT. When people say, how can you compare one and two? It's like comparing winter and summer. You can't compare. They're both beautiful in their senses. What about I know. Let's talk about the Urus.
Right. So the Urus is an amazing car. Recently got that. That is a great all-around car in the sense that it is a Lamborghini, but at the same time it's an SUV. So I do have a trunk and stuff for the children. Obviously it's higher up, so you're not as low down in terms of the ground and all that. It could fit 5 people comfortably in the car. So it's a lot more practical than the others. We're in the middle of doing a 1016 wide body kit with the side skirts and underneath, and would really change around the whole
1016
car.
is amazing. Shout out Peter.
And then obviously we are here, CWD, custom wrap
Yes.
design. I think is going to be wrapping the car and customizing the car. And I think our goal is to do something special. So when you open up the doors, in the doorwell, I want to have different themes. So one could be superheroes, maybe DC. One will be Marvel. One might be Barbie.
Inside the doors.
Inside the doorwell.
Vitaly is going to come up with that design with you, and
Something like that.
He's been great in helping us host this episode as well. So shout out Vitaly.
Yes.
The Urus is amazing in a sense where when I used to sell those cars, I used to always say that if you have to have one car that ticks every single box, can fit 5 people, is a Lamborghini with 650 horsepower, the biggest ceramic brake discs in the world. I mean, it's the Urus.
There we go.
It doesn't get better.
That's currently
It's actually
undergoing the renovation. This is literally it. As you can see, the side vents are
Oh, nice.
being redone there.
The
You have
Grigio Telesto,
undercarriage
amazing
is
color.
on currently, so it's the full carbon fiber, and then we got
That is
the
nuts.
carbon fiber hood on already, and I think we're going to try to do the accents around this piece right here, so to accent those vents. So I'm thinking maybe to do some sort of a wrap around that part.
Can I suggest, and this just suddenly hit my kind of imagination a little,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
if you take a look over here, it's kind of a bat.
Yeah,
It's kind of a bat with the
cool.
wings.
Right. So there's a lot we could do. I'm going to see with the heat. I have to speak with them with the wrap and on there, but I'm thinking of something we could do with that because how it comes out. And 1016 was really amazing for this project. And I just want to do something that the whole goal is when we have a child, and the child, or an adult, whoever, we have an individual battling cancer. It's predominantly children. But so let's say the children, someone battling cancer, going through that tough time. We're there for that visit. Even if the child's doing well today, you don't know what's going to be tomorrow.
Yes.
So thank God most are not stage 4. They're not terminal. But things could change. All of a sudden the cancer spreads, the platelets drop. There's so many different things that have the side effects, all these things. It amputations. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And so it's not just about bringing the car. I'm like, what can we do to really just for that, when that child steps out of the hospital, and they don't typically get to do that, and they're looking from a window, and they get to see the car before we come up to visit the child if they can't get out of the bed. You know, how can we make the biggest impact? When we're just there, how can we get that child to all of a sudden just forget about all the pain and suffering, everything they're going through, which is a big thing, to say that they're literally sitting there fighting for life, going through horrible pain and torture and the side effects of vomiting and going to the bathroom and just the headaches and everything that comes along with it, right?
Something
Things
you
that
never want your
no
child
one
to
should
go
ever
through.
know,
No,
ever. I mean, literally,
you
like
wouldn't wish this upon an enemy. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No.
But to see this on a child,
it's horrible. Like there are times like I'll walk out of there, or I'll literally be there. I'll go out of the room, and I'll just need to, like a break, just to literally just sit there, and like I'll cry, because I'm like, holy shit, like what am I witnessing? The kid is there, and the kid, like you're saying, kids look at the parents as being superheroes, and they'll look at the parent and not knowing, because it's 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, and they're looking at the parent as superhero, right? The parent's job is to take care of the kid, right? They're the ones that's the savior. And they'll go to the parent like, mommy, daddy, can you save me? I want to feel better, right? And for a parent to hear that and not be able to do anything, to be helpless, and just wish they could do anything in the world to help that child and not be able to do that, like, for us to be able to show up as a superhero, as a princess, as a whatever, in a car, all of a sudden the kid just transforms from that, like, help me, to just forgetting about that temporarily and acting like a normal, healthy child. And it's just, you transform them into this other world. Like I kind of say, like Morpheus with the Matrix. You kind of transport them from the current world they're in to this alternative world, which is the world they should be in, and being able to enjoy life and enjoying everything. And they don't, and we just kind of transport them for whatever period of time it is that we could get them out into this window of what I call normalcy. And
it's almost
that's
like a virtual
utilize.
reality, but it's a real. It's the alternative reality that you're giving that emotionally elevates a kid. I remember when my wife was pregnant with our first daughter, we supported a family from Kazakhstan. The girl, she was about 6, 7. Her name was Rayana, from Kazakhstan. She had brain tumor. I wasn't making ridiculous money at the time or anything like that. We were giving a little bit, $100 here, $100 here, and she started getting better, but getting better. The mother was, running a big Instagram page. Instagram started growing, more money started coming in. They managed to get the procedures that they needed to do. She got better, she got worse. Just like you say, it's like this, and then she gets better, she gets better, she gets better, doesn't, dies. It shocked us. We were all crying. It was just a crazy experience in living through something like this. You just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
And that's the craziness about it.
There's some of the children that beat the cancer but pass away from an infection. It's already, the cancer's done, and then there's an infection there, and it's like,
God works in mysterious ways.
it's crazy. Like to
Life
see
does
it,
as
to
well.
think it, and just see and be there for them, and it's a lot. Like it's not easy to do what we do, and I'm very grateful for an amazing team, amazing board members, amazing donors, supporters, friends, everyone else that's there collectively, right? Because like a puzzle, each one fits, and everyone's there to help and do. And so I might be the face of it. I was the one that started, right? I was that first piece of the puzzle, but the puzzle needs to continue growing, because the bigger the puzzle gets, the more we can do, the more we can help, et cetera, et cetera.
Let's talk about a puzzle growing. Where do you see this foundation growing? What plans do you have in the near future? How are you expanding? Are you covering more territories? Are you adding more cars? Are you adding more functions? Tell us.
So currently, like, we're spending a lot of time mostly in South Florida, personally, and other volunteers that are here. We do have other volunteers in other areas helping us with one-offs and things like that. I mean, ultimately, I'd want to have a global presence, right? Because kindness is free. Our next place I think that I personally intend to go will probably be Atlanta. And I know you met Ari. We had lunch the other day
Yes.
with him. He's
Yes.
been a big asset on the team. Joined about a year and a half ago, and he's really been pushing us to get to the next level, to get to the next step, with a bigger vision, which is why a team's really important, because I come in with my own strengths and weaknesses, and everyone else there comes in with theirs as well, and collectively we could go ahead and utilize our strengths to really do as much as possible. So ultimately, I want to have a global presence. And obviously you need more funds as well, but I don't need to have a fleet. Like, I'm not looking to have a car in every city. That's not what it's about. It's finding other people that might have that and being willing to utilize their assets, right? Because I'm only one person. There's only so many places I could be at one time, right? I could be here or nowhere else.
Right.
But if I had a million other people who can be in those other million locations, problem solved.
Think about it.
And that's the point. So you don't need a car. You don't need a lot to do.
I was just gonna say, do you need a car? Do you need an exotic? If somebody wants to volunteer, but they don't have that
100%
Aventador,
not.
they don't have that Gallardo, or whatever.
There are a lot of people out there that do have that, and no offense to them, but I wouldn't want them to be a part of it.
Really?
I want people that are, number one, empathetic.
Yes.
Right? So it starts with the heart. It's
starts
not
with the heart.
the money. The money is great, right? And I'm not negating anyone that does have that. But it starts with the willingness to want to be there for that person, right? And it's great that you do have that car and you do have that other thing that can enhance what we're trying to do for them. But it's got to start with here, that you want to be there and say, you know what, I'm here for this visit, right? Even if it's a one-time visit, but that one time you're there and your goal is really to help the child, to help the family and that kind of stuff. So really, I think that's the most important thing, is just wanting to be there for that person. And you don't need money to do that. That's why I say kindness is free, right?
Yes.
You could hold the door open for someone,
Yes.
say good morning, smiling at someone.
Yes.
To you, it's a small, kind deed, but to the person receiving it, I always say that a small, kind deed is something that's done to someone else. If that guy is having the worst day of his life, the worst week of his life, got fired, girlfriend broke up with him, wife left, whatever, right? It's endless of the amount of things that could happen. Unfortunately, if a child's sick, that you don't know what's going on in someone else's backyard. And by you opening the door, by smiling, by saying good morning,
100%.
you could totally change, and you might never know. But to you, it's something small. To the person receiving it, you could totally change their thought process. You could light a spark inside of them. So, if you say, hey, you know what, I'm working 3 jobs, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, great, but there are certain things that you can do, right? Just be a nicer person.
There's never a reason to be a jerk. There's never a reason. You're absolutely right. We could really offend somebody just by not doing something, or you can offend somebody by doing something, but there's never a reason to be an asshole.
Right, you show up to a restaurant. Oh wait, I'll continue after. Yeah, do it.
So, for our viewers, for our listeners that are inspired by your movement,
Yes.
how can they get in touch with you? How can they help? How can they get involved?
Sure. So if you want, they can get involved on Instagram, which is at BatmanReal account,
I will attach everything.
or through our website, which is smilesthroughcars.org. And just, get involved, whether you want to donate your time, you want to donate money.
Yes.
And I know there's a lot of people out there who, let's just say, hey, you know what, I really can't afford them. I'm tight. I only have $1. But that $1 makes a big difference. I couldn't afford to donate a lot of money. I could donate my time. But if you have 2 million people donating $1, if you have 2 million people out there doing random acts of kindness,
Simple math.
right? It's just one random act of kindness. One.
Yes.
But it's the person you're doing it to, the person that sees it, the people that they themselves then want to mimic, right? Because they see what's going on. The person that you did it to now says, you know what, my life got better. I want to make someone else. And that ripple effect could be endless. You never know that one random act of kindness, the impact that will have on the trajectory of
Yes.
the person's life as well as your own. Because now it's impacting you. It's these random acts of kindness of what we get from doing them also. It's a big deal. And, it's, so that's why I always say, I'm like, you know what, even if you don't have a lot, define a lot. Right? To me, $1 million is a lot. To Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Elon Musk, they don't even notice where they're coming and growing.
Correct.
Right? So to me, penny's not a lot. But if I go to parts of the world, right?
But to somebody, again, it's the same thing. To somebody, an hour is not a lot. To somebody, an hour is everything. That's the whole point. Think about it.
Exactly.
Donating 1 hour of your life to somebody who hardly has any time left is magical.
Exactly.
What words of wisdom would you have to somebody starting in a foundation, or somebody is working in a foundation, or starting to give back to the community? What kind of guiding wisdom advice can you give?
So I would say choose something that you're really passionate about, right? I chose children because for me, when I lost my younger sister, I saw the impact that it had on me, till this day, still the pain and suffering that I feel of not having my sister, and the impact that it had on my father for the last 18 years till he passed away, and all that, and so much more. So for me, it was about that, and then that's continued from kids' cancer and all different issues. But someone could be passionate about animals, someone could be passionate about shelters, whatever. It's endless. But find the thing that really you resonate with, because it's really not easy at all. Like whether you get paid nothing or you get paid $1 million for it, seeing this day after day, and seeing children who are really at their weakest and lowest points in their life, and should be the most innocent point in their life, right? Childhood should be the time period we get to enjoy, and that's taken away from them. That innocence that we are born with, they don't have. They don't have that luxury. And that's why, for me, children has really a special place in my heart. And that's what I try my best to do. And, we don't discriminate against adults, but it's been predominantly children. So I would say find something you're truly passionate about so that you could become the best at that. And just really go above and beyond. Be willing to learn, embrace the hardships, embrace the failure, embrace the heartache, because there's going to be a lot of that. Within the organization, that whatever it is you're doing, there's going to be a lot of amazing times. But there's also going to be a lot of, unfortunately, tough times. And I think it's just knowing that the toughest times remind you why you're doing what you're doing. And it doesn't mean you're not going to have that heartache. You're not going to cry. You're not going to, because I do. Like, there are days I've gone out and I've had 3 or 4 funerals for children in one day. A child that's...
How do you go through something like that?
It's really tough. And by saying tough, I'm putting it lightly. And that's why I say openly, I go to the gym 5 times a week. Because for me, it's not just the physical. Yes, I want to be Batman with that Bruce Wayne body. I don't have Bruce Wayne bank account, but I could have that Bruce Wayne body. But it's also the mental, the emotional, the physical, and not just the physical appearance, the internal physical of that. Also going to a therapist, speaking to a therapist, and speaking openly about these hardships that we see.
You do that. You have to.
And it's important, 100%. There's nothing wrong with it. It's important for people that are, when you're going through a tough time, the same way that I try to take care of my body this way, you take care of your body that way.
Yes.
And I think it's really important for people to understand that it's okay to have that outlet, right? Whether it's a gym, whether it's a therapist, figure it out. Certain things that you like and enjoy. It could be needlepoint, I have no idea, whatever, crocheting, like whatever it is, right? It's a personal preference, but you find that outlet that
Healthy
you can
body,
help.
healthy mind.
Exactly.
Guys, this has to be the hardest. I guarantee you that. In 1,000 episodes, this is the hardest episode for sure for me to do, because it's very emotional. I mean, we talk about cars. This podcast is about cars and car community and people who are real, who are not selling courses, who are doing something impactful. But for certain reasons, of course, as you can see, this is a very emotionally tough episode to do, because we're talking about the most serious things one can talk about, and it's kids and it's family. Wow, Josh, I thank you. We, as a car community, as people, are so thankful for what you do. I am definitely, last year was a leap year. It was a very crazy year. We've lost a lot of people. We've been on the brink of third World War. There's situations all across the world where thousands of people are getting killed on a daily. And I think 2025 is a year of change. I think it's a year where I've seen a lot of people, including myself, give up things like alcohol, start taking care of yourself, start really, really taking care of yourself and the people around you. And I think it's a year of change, and I wish you to have the most successful year yet, to save as many lives as you possibly can, and we will be with you on this journey.
Amen. I appreciate it, and glad and honored to be here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I want to thank Vitaly as well from CWD Custom Wrap Designs for allowing us this beautiful space. It's really, really great. They do what they love, we do what we love, and we'll catch you soon on a new episode of Don't Buy My Course.